A pleasant afternoon to each and everyone. So we are the reporter for this meeting, and our assigned topic that need to be discussed is entitled Art in Early Civilization. So before I proceed to my discussion, let me introduce first the members of this group. So I will be your first reporter. I am Sheremy Saiman, to be followed by Miss Riza Engay, Miss Sydney Restauro, Mr. Jose Margarito Tello, and our last reporter would be Miss Trisha May Carmen. The following are the objectives of our topic. So at the end of the lesson, students will know the art in early civilization introduction as well as the Stone Age culture. Second, to know about the Egyptian art and its characteristics as well as the three periods of the Egyptian culture. And lastly, you can be able to know some of the examples of the Egyptian art. Modern historians can learn a great deal about this ancient civilization when it comes in culture, beliefs, and values from their art. So when few people could read or write, art serves as their vital form of communication and a vital record of significant events. There are numerous ways to approach a study of ancient art, and it can be analyzed thematically by comparing and contrasting a particular theme or genre across various cultures. For instance, funerary art. So funerary art reveals a lot about how various cultures dealt with death, made preparations for it, and what they thought happened in the afterlife. So as what you can see on the screen, it is an example of the ancient Egyptian and Chinese funerary art, and it can be compared to show how these two cultures had very different perspectives on death. Now let's talk about the Stone Age culture. So when we say Stone Age culture, it refers to a time in history when stones were used to make tools for survival. So in short, Stone Age culture marks a period of prehistory in which humans used primitive stone tools. So some of the examples of the stone tools that was used to make during this era are hammerstone, where it could have been used for anything that required hammering, such as making tent pegs. We also have stone cores, which could have been used for cutting, chopping, or scraping, and also the spear stone. It can be used as a weapon in a battle, and we usually see it in the movies that most of the ancient people use this kind of tool. So the Stone Age culture have three periods, namely Paleolithic or the Old Stone Age. Second is the Mesolithic or the Middle Stone Age, and lastly the Neolithic or the New Stone Age. So we will discuss the three periods one by one. So the first period is the Paleolithic art or the Old Stone Age culture, which lasted from roughly 30,000 to 10,000 BCE. So it provided the earliest example of human ingenuity or inventiveness, and it is said that Paleolithic art focused on either fertility or food, just like hunter scenes, animal carvings, and Venus figurines, where animal is the primary theme. So it is believed that the Stone Age people were making an effort, whether through magic or ritual, to take control of their environment. In addition, Paleolithic art is a result from climate change. So as the climate became colder, early humans' instinct was to seek out shelter that would keep them warm. So caves became their safe havens for early humans, and this cave paved the way for the first attempts at creating art. So one example of the Paleolithic art is the Wion rock paintings, and it is a distinct style of Western Australian rock art, and they are mostly human figures with precise anatomical proportions and pointed in exquisite detail. So they have been determined to be more than 17,000 years old. Another example is the bison painting from the cave of the Altamira. So as what you can see on the picture, this art have either black or red pigments. So the reds were made with hematite, while the blacks were made with charcoal. So the Altamira bison is part of a large series of works discovered in the Altamira cave. So the drawings are dated between 17,000 to 12,000 years ago. And the last example is the Toquepala cave painting. So Paleolithic drawings discovered in this cave in southern Peru date back approximately 11,500 years ago. So this artwork are polychrome, with the dominating hue being red, derived from hematite. Now let's move on to the Mesolithic art or the Middle Stone Age. Between Between the end of the Paleolithic Ice Age and the onset of farming, with its crop and animal husbandry, all works of art and craft are referred to as Mesolithic art, depending on how long it took for agriculture to take hold after the Ice Age ended. So the length of this transitional Mesolithic period differed from location to region, and the Holocene epoch, which began with the Mesolithic period followed by the Pleistocene, and introduced a new perspective on Stone Age art. The characteristics of Mesolithic art are rock paintings, Mesolithic cave painting, Mesolithic sculpture, Mesolithic decorative crafts, and architecture. So one example of the Mesolithic art is the rock engraving or carving of a prone antelope at Tintaghirt by Tassili Nadir around 8000 to 7000 BCE, with more than 15,000 engravings and paintings documenting climatic changes, animal migrations, and the emergence of people on the border of the Sahara. So Tassili Nadir rock art is the most eloquent depiction of relationships between human and the environment. Another example is the Dance of Kongul around 10,000 to 7,000 BCE in the cave of Roca dels Moros. So the painting's most famous scene is a dance one. 9 women are perceived in this picture, and some of the images, which are thought to represent women, are painted in red and others in blacks. Now let's proceed to the last period of the Stone Age culture, which is the Neolithic art. So it is estimated that the Neolithic era lasted from 10,000 to 3000 BCE. So numerous new advances in social and cultural life began with it. Primarily, Neolithic art serves as a variety of purposes connected to food, farming, ritual, decoration, or any other aspect of the Neolithic life. One example of this is the Avebury monuments in Wiltshire, England, and these are 3 stone circles that surround the village of Avebury, and it is also part of a henge that surrounds the stone with a bank and a ditch. So it was constructed between 2850 to 2200 BCE, and this is a component of the related World Heritage Site. So many scholars and non-scholars have posed ideas as to this structure's purpose. So some claim that it was most likely for ritual and ceremonial purposes. And the last example of the Neolithic art is the Stonehenge. So it dates back between 2550 to 1600 BCE in England on Salisbury Plain, Wiltshire. So it is one of the largest prehistoric structures ever built, and it's made up of a number of sizable stones that have been placed into 2 circles. So it is possible that the Stonehenge serves religious and ceremonial functions, and its position towards the summer solstice sunrise provides even another clue as to its intended use. So in 1986, the UNESCO designated it as a World Heritage Site. So that's all for my report. If you are interested to know more about the art in ancient civilization as well as the Stone Age culture, I provided the reference link here. So that's all. Thank you for listening, and let's proceed to the next reporter.
Good day everyone, my name is Ruza Ingay, BS Ed major in Social Studies. So today we will be talking about ancient Egyptian art, its characteristics, subject depicted, and theme. So let's start. Ancient Egyptian art spans close to 2,800 years of history, beginning with the unification of Egypt in the year 3100 BCE and concluding when Alexander the Great conquers Egypt in 332 BCE. That span of time is more than 10 times the age of the United States. Characteristics of ancient Egyptian art. So Egyptian art aimed at preserving order and stability, or the prevailing relationships between the king, the people, and the gods. To do this, ancient Egyptian art followed certain rules or styles that made it distinctive and unmistakable. And also, Egyptian art is heavily influenced by religion, specifically the belief in life after death, so that the ancient Egyptian artists developed funeral art to an amazing degree. Egyptian temples and pyramids and the paintings and sculpture that we can find inside them have become treasures at the entire art world and human civilization itself. During the age of pharaohs and dynasties, Egypt was fertile and productive, politically stable, and under little threat of foreign invasions. By that, their artists could draw on rich supplies of minerals. Egyptian artists all followed specific rules, collectively known as style. Statues were viewed as physical representations of gods and goddesses as well as divine kings and queens. Male statues had to be darker in color than female statues. Although Egyptian artists were keen observers of details, they were not after exact copies of the things and people that they saw. Artists were not expected to do something new, but to repeat exactly what has already been done. They tried to achieve a sense of order, stability, and continuity by using clear, precise, and simple shapes and lines mixed with that areas of colors. Egyptian artists decided that how you depict things in your art should really be established in a correct order. They saw this as a balance and a correctness to the divine order that fit in with their mythology. So this brings us to the three themes that you'll notice throughout all of ancient Egyptian art. And they all happen to start with letter T, so it's easy to remember. First, tombs, then temples, then timelessness. So in the ancient Egyptian culture, they were polytheistic, which meant they believed in a lot of gods, but they have some commonalities in today's religion. They have a creation myth, they have an afterlife that they believe in, and they also believe in this idea of resurrection or living again. Now, because of this mythology, their art is tied heavily to it. A lot of the art that we have discovered is found in tombs. So that's the first theme that you'll notice. Most of the art is related to tombs. They were buried in tombs, they were painted in tombs, walls, but it is because of this obsession with the afterlife that the Egyptian had. Temples are a second thing where a lot of the art comes from and a lot of the style that we see in ancient Egyptian culture. So temples were really important for them as a place to worship, as a place to learn, and as a place to give divine things to their gods. So you'll see a lot of the art in temples. And then the final one is timelessness. This idea that their culture lasts forever, their style and characteristics last for a long time, but also this idea that like them as a people last through death. So tombs, temples, and timelessness. So this is where we see art, and this can explain one of the reasons why their art remains so static. It's because they held onto this firm belief that this wasn't going to change. So they believe that these images would carry on with you to the next life, and you needed to remain consistent through that so that you would be successful in your journeys into the afterlife. So this ends for my part in our report. Thank you for watching and listening.
Good afternoon everyone, my name is Jose Margarito Estalio. Today I'm going to tackle about the famous Egyptian structures. So first we're going to talk about the pyramids. So a pyramid is a monumental structure with a square or triangular base and sloping sides that meet in a point at the top, especially one built of stone as a royal tomb in ancient Egypt. Pharaoh Khufu began the first Giza Pyramid project in circa 2550 BC. His Great Pyramid is the largest in Giza and towers some 481 feet or 147 meters above the plateau. It is estimated 2.3 million stones block, each weigh an average of 2.5 to 15 tons. The ancient engineering feats of Giza were so impressive that even today scientists can't be sure how the pyramids were built. Yet, they have learned much about the people who built them, and political power is necessary to make it happen. The builders were skilled, well-fed Egyptian workers who live in a nearby temporary city. Archaeological digs on the fascinating site have revealed a highly organized community, rich with resources that must have been backed by strong central authority. The next architectures is the temples. So the first temple is the Abu Simbel. The two eminent carved rock temples at Abu Simbel are dedicated to 13th century BCE pharaoh Ramesses II and his first wife Nefertari. The second is the Luxor Temple. Built around 400 BCE from the Nubian sandstone, the southern sanctuary is a great temple complex located at Luxor on the east bank of the Nile. Unlike the other temples in Thebes, Luxor Temple is not dedicated to a cult, god, or deified version of the pharaoh and dead. Instead, Luxor Temple is dedicated to the rejuvenation of kingship. The next is the Karnak Temple. Dating from around 2000 BCE, Karnak is one of the largest religious complexes in the world and was once Egypt's most important place of worship. The Temple of Ombu. Located on the banks of the Nile in a village of the same name, Ombu is unique as a double temple dedicated to the deities Sobek and Horus. The mortuary temple of Hatshepsut, also known as the Djeser Djeseru, is located beneath a sheer cliff face in a Deir el Bahari near Luxor. Temple of Pili, originally located on the island of Pili and dedicated to the goddess of love, Isis. This temple was almost lost in floods when the Aswan Dam was built. Temple of Edfu, dedicated to the deity Horus, the spectacular temple of Edfu is considered to be the best preserved of the ancient Egyptian shrines. The next is the modern architecture. So we have the Bibliotheca Alexandrina. It is built on a site alongside Alexandria's ancient harbor in the historic center of the city. The 11-story library can contain up to 4 million volumes of books and can be expanded up to 8 million by the use of compact storage. In addition to the library facilities, the library also contains other cultural and educational functions, several museums, a school for information science, and conservation facilities. Next is the Basuna Mosque. The Basuna Mosque is located in the hot and arid village of Basuna, Suhag, Egypt. It is sited amidst the noisy and densely constructed area with nearby residential buildings, a cemetery, and a weekly makeshift small market right outside the main entrance, this place of worship. The new building was made to offer peace and tranquility for its use. So once again, my name is Jose Margarito Estelio, and that's all for my reporting today. Thank you.